At BFBS Creative, we are creative storytellers. We are specialists in unravelling the untold, even from the most difficult locations. We help you reach the audiences you need to reach. From documentary interviews to addressing communication hurdles and crafting your content strategy, we can do it all. We thrive in the toughest environments, ensuring your stories are told brilliantly.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the RAF Storm Shadows channel. I am once again joined by the immeasurably enthusiastic Roman in the commentary box this evening, Roman. And as you can see on your screens there, it is the RAF Storm Shadows taking on the Army Esports side. A fascinating insight into what we might come to expect in the inter-services. But for tonight, it's the Armed Forces Dungeon League. Let's get this show started.
Carries this forward, gets 50 with Fraz. Ed, get into that one. Envy tucks it away. And as I say, they need an opening goal. They have managed to get one here, 1-0.
Frazic, though, does some nice defensive work. But P finds Cedric. Cedric finds Envy. Beautiful stuff from the RAF Storm Shadows. 2-0.
Approximately a minute and a half left to go. Envy goes for a pass to P. P with a shot. P with a goal. Tucked away in the top left corner. 2-1 to the RAF Storm Shadows. And they are shining through here after the Army. They've struggled to rotate. They struggled to get into position after kickoff. And P managing to give the RAF Storm Shadows that advantage
Didn't
again.
have a lot to work with, didn't have a lot of the goal to aim at, but he put it in the one place that it was going to go to, and Cedric makes it 3! And the floodgates are beginning to open here for the RAF Storm Shadows. A great 30-second burst, and now they've just got to hold it, or even go for more.
Air power wins matches in Rocket League, and you can't tell me otherwise, as Ed will tuck that one away, and the Storm Shadows have the advantage here with 3 minutes left to go. Nothing about air superiority there. P just managing to get a pass across. A very strong 50 indeed, and Ed had an entire net to tuck it away. 1-0 to the Storm Shadows, and the Army, they've been crumbling since game 3. To control this one and take it downfield, intercepted immediately by Ed, and this pressure from the Storm Shadows has been relentless, and Envy, the man from Cosford, will tip this away to make it 2-0, and almost an improbable comeback for the Army to try and pull off with 90 seconds left to go. The way they've been playing, the RAF Storm Shadows, they're currently unstoppable.
The RAF Storm Shadows, an incredible goal. They've done it again, and it's 2-0 now, and it's 3-0 now. The lead looking unassailable.
Gives Ed some time here on the sidewall, gets it up. P is on the backboard lurking. Is Ed going to get this one away? No, but Envy's going to be there. Envy's going to tuck it away. It's 4-1 to the RAF Storm Shadows. Rose-tinted glasses are on, and I don't care. It is game over. The RAF have trampled the Army. 4-1, could be 5-1. I don't care what the scoreline is. It's going to be game over with 1:06 left to go. You're going to have me in the commentary box. I'm going to be hyping the boys the entire time, not just the Storm Shadows, the Sentinels and the Shadows as well. As this game comes to a close with almost P tucking away a very nice shot there, just drops at the death. Storm Shadows 3, the Army Sparrows 1, and well, the Storm Shadows did it in fashion late on.
Hi, I'm AS1T Stelios Elia. In-game I'm known as SE1997.
Corporal Elliot Greenwood, and in-game I'm known as G Wood.
My name is AS1 Tech Edward Nussey-Waite, otherwise known as Cedric in-game.
It's already looking like they've upped the bar from last year, which is a really tough job to even do that. We are looking forward, not just myself, but as a team, to going out on that stage and representing the Royal Air Force as best as we can.
Playing up on a stage like this is the first time. We had a thing called Rank A, where it was all the top players played against each other, and then we picked our teams. I've finally made it into the first team after a lot of hard work.
Both my teammates are really talented. We gel super well. Really looking forward to playing with them on stage and seeing what we can do.
From my end, the leadership were outstanding, no issues at all.
Not just from my own personal line management, but also the Royal Air Force Esports Association backed us very well, I should say, and made sure we had all the support we needed to get here, and they're always a phone call away if we do need them for anything.
Really excited to play Coast Guard. It'll be closer than everyone thinks. After playing them, we think we stand a bit of a fighting chance.
The second Air Force team, emphasis on second now. We're a solid team, 3 really good players who could do some damage for sure.
Although we are in different forces across NATO, we are colleagues, so it's nice to meet them in person and just have a laugh and play against them and hopefully beat them as well.
You ready? AFG, you're washed.
Coast Guard, you ain't as good as you think you are. We're coming for you.
Space Force, Stick to mini golf.
We're gonna win it.
No, we're not.
We're gonna win it. We're going all the way.
I thought it was good until I saw them play. The Americans will never hear the end of it if we end up winning somehow.
Look, I'll shake on it. You know me. I don't drink. I will drink heavily if we win.
That the pressure put down. Stelios with no boost thrown into corner will be wildly out of position. G-Wood needs to put the air. Don't go towards net on this one. Instead, Cedric go for the double touch. It's a beautiful finisher. 19 seconds into OT, and the RAF already going to match point.
That's right, boys. Once again, I'm joined alongside none other than Stelios. Stelios, at the very start of that match, you pointed out the fact that the strategy was aggression, was confidence. Do you personally feel like you guys delivered on all fronts?
Yeah, it was a series that we just stuck to the plan and executed it to perfection. I felt really good myself. I felt the other boys also played their part individually, and then we executed the plan as a team together. It was almost perfection, which means we've got to live up to that in the next round as well. So we can't just rest on our laurels. We've got to take it forward.
Well, for you personally, you were the first one to score goals across, I think, 2 or 3 of those matches that we saw there as well. Was that part of the game plan for you to be the force of nature, as it were, in this matchup?
I'm certainly a force of nature, but usually not in front of goal. It's usually Cedric or G-Wood that are bagging the goals when it counts. However, the way we're set up is it doesn't matter who has the chance to score. It could be any one of us. The way we play, we create spaces for anyone to score. And it just so happened that it was me that was in the prime position to put it in the back of the net, and thankfully I did.
Half, but not for too much longer. Sentinels have broken free, although only momentarily. Now into the retreat. Cedric and Asher, not for the first time today, failing to meet the problem at the source.
That's Cedric though. Air gets just the tiniest of the resets on that ball, but it pushes it just over the edge where Asher cannot grab it.
And there's an equal response from Sames. Asher in the interception, but straight to G-Wood. Oh, and he shoots just past the post. Stelios! 2-2 at last. Another sucker punch. How strong is that proverbial jawline? And actually, you can see the severity of the situation. There's no smiles. And Sames, again, waits it out. Stelios now looking for Cedric. Oh, that's a beautiful layoff.
For Storm Shadows, of course, we're going to be showcasing the other lower bracket match as well. It's going to be coming up on your screen later on. Just a quick comment where there's only one life for the team and there is no field for mistakes.
I feel like it's easier said than done. I also worry that this might be too simple a statement to make of the situation, Jam. For the Sentinels, is it really as clear-cut as get it? And all the while, time being burned off the clock. Still 2-1 Sentinels, but that's going to change very quickly. I feel like I put on my crown, Jam. The King of Cursed is back.
For Shaman as well to look and demo or bump the player out of the way. Not on that attempt. I'm pretty sure some Shadows will be thinking about it. That's certainly one thing on Cedric's mind though. Golds, golds, and more golds.
And Cedric actually just lays off, allows Sames the room, but then wiggles his way through all on his own. Cedric to G-Wood! It's a save, but it's not enough! 2-1 Storm Shadows!
The ball caroms off the oncoming player with a series-winning goal scored just 30 or so seconds before the end of the game. It is the Royal Air Force Storm.
Spirited a performance as that was. Let us not forget that they have now tripled their game output in a single. Do apply. And that resource will eventually run out in the form of boost. Oh, very sneaky from Cedric. Lovely flick over the top of everybody. Oh, it's a spectacular from Cedric.
Space Force just a little bit. Exchange of long-range efforts, but I do love the proactivity and Reed's shot. Cedric denies it. Crossbar post out.
That is fortuitous. And now they're down the other side with a potential opportunity. G-Wood snuffed at the near post. 3 minutes plus! And they don't need the 3 minutes plus, just shy of. Cedric with a stunner. And it's match point for the Storm Shadows. Doubling up now. This suits Space Force just fine. 1-0 advantage. A slender one, yes, but one nonetheless. And Space Force relying a lot more on Demos, but who needs Demos, Jam? When you've got G-Wood, what a redirect. Yeah, sometimes you got to throw that experience out the window and play the game in front of you. But I'm not going to commit to a certain way of thinking. I'll let you as the audience decide, and I'll let these players on the pitch decide. I tell you what, G-Wood is getting a bit of a handle, a bit of a knack on creating these goals out of nothing.
They do so gracefully.
You know, Space Force press not as intensive as I would like to see personally, and that's allowing the Storm Shadows not just time on the ball to get out of defense, but to get shots away, Jam, and Stelios has just put them ahead.
Cannot get it out as far as the midfield line. Still keep on returning. Cedric sees that there's just no opportunity for Ethan to raise it down from his hand, and Cedric wins it in overtime for Royal Air Force. A 7-game thriller with 1 extra minute of the overtime. He is the absolute star player of that Storm Shadow side.
The runners-up rise. RAF Storm Shadows continue their lower bracket journey. The Space Force valiant until the end. But in the end, it was Cedric, a man who made a couple of mistakes earlier on, a man who let Space Force back into the game, who truly struts his stuff when it matters most. Wow.
Stelios, the most animated.
Stel, talk to me, because we had a few overtimes in this series as a whole. Game number 3 in particular, you were looking incredibly stressed. So comms between your team, I'm assuming, were a little bit chaotic.
At times it was very, very chaotic. Yeah, you're right. You're spot on with that. And in those moments, it's actually Cedric, or as we know him, Ed, who takes a second just to scream out comms, 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 comms. And then in that moment, we snap back in from whatever dream we were in previously, and we're back in, we're locked in again. And it happened on so many occasions. You would not believe where he was trying to calm us all down and get back into the game mentally wise. And in the end, as you can see, it paid off.
It absolutely did. But you know what, Stel? In particular, yourself and your team are big on demo reviews, actually putting in the grind, the time and effort that it takes to perform well on stage as well. I'm pretty sure you're one of the only teams to actually do that here. So yesterday's kind of debug, shall we say, after the performances, what did you guys get up to?
We found a lot of misrotations and a lot of gaps in communication as well. Like when you're watching the replays, you know what you were saying at the time. You can recall it pretty well. And we found a lot of gaps in our comms. We weren't saying things clearly enough or concise enough, and we were getting confused and double committing. I would say the reason why we have to do such a thing is because we don't have, at least I don't have, the skill level that some of these opponents have, like these great American players and even the French. So we've got to make up for it in some way, right? And replay analysis is one of those ways that we do it.
And I was actually chilling there with the rest of your team, watching the game as well. And I gotta say, these boys need some kind of oomph to them, because their support for you boys has been incredibly quiet. So this is your opportunity to have words of wisdom with them.
We're going all the way, Asher. We're going all the way, Shay. Strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Thank you so much for joining me, Stel, and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
How many musical puns we can work into this broadcast during this series. Cedric, individual effort versus 3, as if it's nothing. Always, those cars are not in the game. That's a big crime. We need more of those.
Technically, the Formula 1 Renault car could be on there, but Cedric is on here. The double block. I mean, Coast Guards just were not expecting this. Lights, you've just been absolutely done, son.
Let's go the Royal Air Force.
Okay. Take a little moment to breathe.
Welcome back to the RAF Storm Shadows channel, ladies and gents. It is once again time for a token match between two sides that are equal, I think anyway, in ability. But one team out of the RAF Nighthawks and Raf Tempests is currently in form. Can they carry that form through for a win tonight? Joining me to find out is none other than, of course, Danny Boy ATM, who joined us once again on this momentous occasion. Danny, good evening, and how are you today?
Well, thank you very much, Stale. Quite literally just before the green room, I was blowing the casket off for wrong sets of reasons, but hopefully we'll see fireworks once again, Stale, as you somewhat alluded to from the introduction. The matchup we've already seen before, a result that has caused, let's say, ink to be stained onto the old parchment. It's just a question on whether it's going to be the same result the second time around.
The RAF Tempests, who of course were known as rank B1 in the Rostermania reshuffle just gone by, succumbing to defeat by the RAF Nighthawks, who were known as B2. Some would say they switched places in seeding in the Rostermania reshuffle. So a very interesting affair. The Tempests throwing in the token pretty much straight away, and they're hungry for this place back. And of course they may have lost the BFBS second invite spot to the RAF Nighthawks, but they'll be in line for something much more precious to them, which will be Germany qualifier seeding as well. But Danny Boy, an important differential for tonight is both teams, I believe, apart from, well, I say both teams, one team, the RF Tempests, have an important player returning who's Action, a new player for the RF Tempests who's proven to be a very strong asset. And what kind of an impact do you think he can have tonight for the Tempest, knowing that, you know, he's been good for Tempest in scrims? Is he going to be able to repeat that form on his first game on stream? It's a tough ask.
Yeah, it's a question on what you're able to produce here. The fact that he's the unknown factor, we don't know too much about him compared to everybody else. It's how that factor going to be jailed. But at the same sort of case in point of it, they've had over sort of 2 months during the rank B era to understand what was going on here. It just happened to be in that tournament was the wrong time, wrong place. For B1, as they were known, now properly returning to the Tempest name. What was the debate and question that even coming into today, Stella was going to ask, what is the lineup going to be? Because that'll dictate how this best of 7 will go.
Well, we are about to find out. It appears as if the RAF Tempests are starting with Action alongside G-Wood and Samez. They've been quiet, they've been hard at work this last week, and they've been waiting for this opportunity. Up goes G-Wood. Can he put it home into the empty net? He can. And the RAF Tempests take a very early lead.
Just like that there, the Tempests, who have been rattled in the last couple of weeks, have been sitting in the chill chat in the Discord, and there's been a few slide and snarky comments, not necessarily directed, but was more the case of we want that spot back that was been rightly theirs for about over nearly a year plus, and the fact that it got taken away from them. Do you know what? It's good for a shake-up, but I think G-Wood is that sort of staunch or type player that will be hard to move off once he finally gets rooted.
I'll tell you something to everyone in the chat who may not know as well, by the way, which includes, of course, Pluvo. Good evening to you. I hope you're doing all right, bro. That, you know, the Tempest did not take kindly to that defeat in Rostermania reshuffle, as Samez almost makes it too. And they've been working and working and working in silence, in total, utter silence, not caring about anybody seeing them work. But they have been practicing and they've been all over prep to prepare for this fixture. So no doubt as to why they've started off so quick. Samez, looking to avoid danger, does just that. And another interesting fact for you all in the chat, and indeed for you, Danny Boy, we put out a poll. I think Cedric put out a poll yesterday. And the result from that poll was a deadlock split down the middle of 20 or so votes, who all couldn't decide the winner, the outcome of this series. And as you can see, maybe there was some logic behind that. It's 1-1, Reedy with equalizer, and all square again.
Well, I'll tell you this here, I think it was, what, about 7 or maybe 8, that poll, when I noticed it myself there, it was 10 votes each at one point, then an hour or two later, it was slowly favouring into Tempest, so it's actually been in the last somewhat today, really, it's been tied back again from the Nighthawks, who was trailing. So it just shows you back and forth what it goes in terms of who and what can be the outcomes. And do you know what? I might as well mention it because the man is on the ball here in the form of Reedy. We were chatting him at the end of the last tournament. And still, I don't know if you recall, but I certainly do. His family was so proud and watching, and I believe that they attend to watch every match. So I hope the young man won't be embarrassed by that factor.
Tell you what, Bale's just scored an absolute blinder of a goal to make it 2-1 to the Raf Nighthawks, who started off a little shakily. And Bale completing half a comeback here. It is still only half a job done. There's still 3 minutes to go in this game. But what a fine effort it was from Bale. And as you quite rightly said, you know, we know from the previous streams that really, you know, he's supported a lot by his family. I'm sure they'll be watching this evening tonight. And they'll be hoping that the Nighthawks can retain second place here after earning it in such dramatic fashion in the Rostermania reshuffle. The Rocket League calendar, of course, for the RAF teams just beginning to warm up with plenty of big tournaments ahead, big qualifiers ahead. Of course, the inter-service just been announced as well as G-Wood makes it 2-2. Beautiful pass by Action. Calm, composed finish by G-Wood in front of the goal. And we're all square again.
Oh, it's the pass you have to look out for, and that exquisitely laid off straight into the back bit of it. And as you mentioned the man's name as well, that the Nighthawks had an unfair advantage in my eyes. You know, playing with somebody like Pluvo, warming yourself up, and you know, having that sort of words of advice every so often, sort of chipping in your ear, and you know, going into a match, that you have that sort of feel-good factor off you, and hence what was a tad bit strange, and I won't name names here. One of them wasn't on the game properly warming up though. And hence I find that's the tad oddity off it by the Nighthawks. That, you know, I think there's an element of, not disrespect here tonight, Stale, but a type of entitlement here that they're going to win.
Well, they'll quickly find out with that attitude if they are, you know, what the RAF Rocket League scene is all about, because the Tempests are one of the most ruthless teams that we've seen in the history of RAF Rocket League, and these players, they've earned the right to be here over thousands and thousands of hours of play within the RAF Rocket League community. And there'll be a player on the other side of the pitch for the RAF Nighthawks who will know just what that's like, and that is Subi, a man who knows what it's like to be on a team with Sammers and G-Wood, has experienced so many ups, so many downs with him, of course, playing with myself and Sammers on the BFBS Pro League Season 1 stage. And he's got a wealth of experience that he gives to this Nighthawks side, alongside his normal level of flair and passion and just chilledness about the game. He's a delight to be around, Subi. And I know he'll want to make a good impression here tonight against his old teammates and retain that second place position. But right now, Danny, game 1 of this best of 7, don't forget, still 2-2. And there's not been much to separate the two teams, I think.
No, and that's the sort of the joyous factor of it. I was sitting with a few players, you know, that was the old red team, or temporarily in the form of the likes of Gobby and the others who down in Hurricanes or Harriers, and you know, talking about, you know, this type of matchup, the sort of now the true top 4. You know, it used to be, you know, the big 1, big 2, now top 4. It just shows you how mad this is now. That, you know, the fact is that even though they are higher poised it is, and it's a 4-man roster essentially on both sides that they can swap and change and move across here. So you're sitting here, it's even like it's a surprise here. It's not, we expected that. We expected actually this probably to go to 7 games this evening.
Oh, Jesus, and what a finish it was. And once again, the creator G-Wood, lovely flicked effort. And Danny boy, how many times over the years have we said, you know, what a combination between Sammers and G-Wood, you know, it's a combination as old as Steve and Kurt from the Shadows, and it comes true there. An important goal at an important time. And can they see this first game through, which will be a huge nerve settler for the RF Tempests, I feel, after the nature of how they lost against the Nighthawks in the reshuffle. But there's a chance here. Reedy at the near post, skimming header into the bottom right, and just as quickly as they went ahead, the Nighthawks strike back.
This has the fragrance of the last time they met. Don't forget, it wasn't until 5, 6, and 7 it became that poisely tight. Now they go into the opening of this best of 7 into an OT. Sure what, Stale? I hope you're ready for a long evening, because this one's going the distance.
These are the moments that we live for, though, Danny boy, isn't it? This is what we live for in the RF Rocket League community. Theatre, drama, content. Doromus will be licking his lips as our content manager, looking to break this one down. Bale going to a bit of a play-by-play now. G-Wood, Subi challenges, Action gets there. Calm play by the Tempest new boy, Reedy. Good first touch. Looking to challenge Sammers on his backboard. But Sammers stands firm. Bale looks inside. Soft touch. Challenged by action, and still the ball remains in this Tempest corner.
It's just loitering around that middle. G with no boost. Samus low, so action, so it needs to be low 50s. Although they decided to sort of punt and run at the ball here, so it should give the other two a chance to pick about 30 or 40. Could have been a shot on target. G Wood holding the centre of the park itself, so not necessarily overextension by the Tempest. So, you know, the bigger question that at one point going into the first time they met these two, now the second time, was the Nighthawks' defence going to be properly structured or sound, or will they have that rhythm? So far, the first test they've held out.
Sammers. Ball bounces awkwardly. Bale, like a lightning bolt off the ceiling. Really good challenge. Really would challenge, but has limited boost. Fakes it for Bale. Bale with a shot! Action with an incredible save as last man. Has more work to do here now. Subi, infield, but nobody there. The idea was right. The execution just a little bit gone awry. But you can understand it in this first game overtime. This first win here for either team could really set the tone as Action clears the ball away to his right-hand side.
Subi, one touch. Drops down into it, and Samus, he's removed on either side of it. Bale and Reedy. And Action, do you know what? I can understand the idea of it, but gets the demo instead with a left the net wide open, and Bale has put himself so awkward there. If he's on the wall, taps it to a teammate, easy bang and clear. Now under pressure for a G-Wood shot that is going too wide, and arguably here Tempest with the more shots, the better of the two opportunities. Somehow haven't slotted them away though.
The ball just inside the eye of Tempest half. Action with a really nice 50. Will collect the boost, and G-Wood and Reedy both fake. Subi comes across, puts it onto net. Sammers has to deal with it. Subi turns, leaves it for Reedy. Sammers with a 50, but it goes back towards G-Wood. Well lost, and G-Wood, bit of a heavy touch. Up goes Bale. Can he beat Action? He can. Action forced into an awkward touch, but actually deals with it pretty well. Tries to bump Subi. Danger here for the eye of Tempest as Subi comes down off the crossbar and can't quite get his shot down enough. A strong chance, but this overtime continues.
Oh no, it doesn't. Not if you have Nighthawks breathing down onto the end of your neck here. That one was popped right round, and technically that looks like a trail of orange, a faint one at that too. So is that a skim technically by Action? But you still had two defenders.
Well, Danny, that is an incredibly fast first game, and as you say, that ball had to travel a long way, and both players would have seen it. And, I mean, what is the next map, by the way? I keep forgetting. Manfield, and it was...
oh, you're really testing Forbidden Temple.
That is it. Forbidden Temple. Forbidden Temple. Let me just get that on. And the server's not maintenance.
You really are trying to impress our RLCS players this evening with the map rotation.
I'm trying. But unfortunately, yeah, server's gone down, so I need everybody to leave. But, I mean... What an exciting first game, and you called it, Danny. You called it pretty well. I mean, if that's anything to go by, we are in for a lengthy evening, but I'm not complaining. This is what we live for. The Tempest started off that game pretty well, got in front, but the lead was lost, and I think if they maintained that lead for a little bit longer, they would have been into a more comfortable rhythm. But Nighthawks kept their patience, they broke them down, and they never gave them an inch of space.
No, and to some extent, is what you somewhat hope for the opening game, that you are going to set out what you are intending to do quite early. And if you can reproduce that and hence build on it, it's going to be a strong platform. The only sort of major question mark going into this still is how is essentially the how are they going to present this, game 2 and 3? Is it going to be better shooting, better defense, or is it just going to be a complete repeat of game 1 where we're going to see a mild sort of 3-3 type of game again?
And that is the $1 million question. I'm not sure. I based on that first game, I haven't seen enough evidence to say that both of these two sides are settled enough to nail down their style yet. I don't know. For me, Nighthawks having the advantage right now means nothing if Tempest fires straight back. It's an important opening couple of minutes in this next game. And I think the team that goes ahead, for the first time, I normally say that, as you know, in our history of casting together, I always say the first team to score has a heavy advantage. This time, I don't know based on these two teams. They're so even. Each of them have different players with different attributes and different strengths. all I can do is just say to the players, let's go and get this and let the action unfold for itself.
Certainly, and Joe, funny that you mentioned about the fact of scoring first, that sort of psychological advantage. I must have been an oddity back in my day still, because I loved actually being 1-0 down here, because you've just seen what your opposition's able to produce here, and if you get that sort of quick response 1-1 here, it's immediately then back under pressure, and suddenly you've taken everything off your own shoulders.
I like that mentality. It's certainly a strong position to be in if you are not affected by going in a game down, and almost welcoming it. It's never a bad thing to have that kind of attitude, and obviously you're not aiming for it to go a game down, but it's a useful tool, a useful mechanism to cope with it if the time comes and action threatened an audacious double, and instead he gets the chance to center again and just chooses to take the touch across and take control of the ball. Samus keeps pressing inside the Nighthawk penalty area. Reedy looking a little bit awkward as action puts it goalward. Subi's soft touch. Can he get the second he can to beat G-Wood? And Samus takes it wide.
Just sitting here, and I've been cast myself for about 3 or 4 years at this point here, and I think we might be getting to the pretty jury of this evening here from the man himself. But Bale is just trying to do what Stale would always describe a moment of that world class. Although I don't think with 2 defenders running the entire direction the opposite way might allow that description this evening.
And Bale with a wonder goal to add to his arsenal of TikTok classics, as he'll call them. I'm sure we'll see that one on the internet later, as he gives the RAF Nighthawks a vital lead, but he follows up with a pretty poor touch in defence. Subi has to bail him out, and action will challenge. It's a good challenge at that. Marches forward, tries to rush Reedy into a rush clearance, but Reedy doesn't bite. Instead, though, his touch only as far as Samus, whose follow-up touch only went to Subi, who puts it wide. Action. Reedy. This is end-to-end stuff here. Fast gameplay, dramatic gameplay, stakes on the line, emotions running wild, nerves almost, anxiety everywhere. This is what you aim to see when you tune into the Aria Storm Shadows channel on a Tuesday or Thursday night. As this token match begins to unfold, Danny, it keeps getting more and more tense, but the Nighthawks are holding onto this narrow 1-0 lead for now, as we just encroach into minute number 3.
One touch, and Subi is getting the pop-up, and Reedy gets the clear as well. You know what, with the night so much slowly cascading into its darkness here, still plenty of brightness here, and I will sit here and say this, and not to be negative, not to simply be unfair here, I don't see the star quality that's been threatened, that's been talked about on a build-up of an evening that has been still. That Action's going to be this player that's causes the same threat level that the Nighthawks do have here. To be fair here, if you take an analytical point of view, Trinity has so far got better numbers. I know it's only, mind you, 1 game here, but with Action, I don't have the same threat, the same feeling when he's on the ball here at the moment.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision that G-Wood as a captain has got to take with Trinity on the bench, because Trinity, is proven quality and is proven, pedigree within the community over years of play. Obviously, he did take a 2-year break, which is probably his only negative point at the moment for this Tempest side. Maybe trying to ease him into the action, no pun intended, as G-Wood goes up 1-on-1 with Reedy, beats him nicely. Bell has to recover, hasn't got the boost for it. Sammers is there, and the equaliser comes through for the Raf Tempest. G-Wood doing all the hard work. Bale did his best to try and get something in the way, and Subi left underneath the ball. Could only watch as Sammers places it into the back of the empty net, and it's 1-1.
And you just have to sometimes sit back in the mire when moments when you do get opportunities. And again, we talk about it, and you mentioned it literally in the last game for 2-1. The Sammers and G-Wood ability for the double, the connection. If it's on point this evening, they won't need Action to be truly warmed up here. They just have the man to be solid, nothing necessarily outlandish from him. But it is Nighthawks, mind you, that still have something in their tricks here, because it was really with a 7, 8 and 900 sort of tight point games in the first 3, the last time these two played.
Reedy, the MVP, of course, of the roster already, reshuffle, and he finds this. Somehow the shot finds its way into the roof of the net. A bit of fortune, but sometimes you need it. It was a good 50 taken by Reedy. As last man as well, he had to get it right, and he did. And Action with limited boost was left with nothing but the solitary view of the ball sailing into the roof of the net. And the Nighthawks once again find themselves a goal in front, threatening to go 2 games in the series to good. And it's over to the Tempests again to see what they got. Good fake by Sames. G1 with a shot. Action with a follow-up. And still the Nighthawks lead hold now. And they can't afford to sit inside their own penalty area. They cannot invite pressure on this Tempest side, who are so good at making you pay. But that clock is ticking.
Sames, one touch straight over. It has been moved around quite nicely here. Sames trying to get the G-Wood specialty of the demo in the net wide open here. And there's the man getting the second line of the Nighthawks awkward here. And this is where the Nighthawks did fumble in the middle of the series last time around here. They've got the order right, and Subi, who, to be fair, this evening here has been extraordinarily quiet, but in a somewhat a calming and good way that you just want to have that presence here.
He is very much that, a calming presence, but up goes G-Wood! And it took another incredible save by Reedy to keep that one out. Up goes Action, down into the penalty area, Bale with the clearance, and down it goes. The RAF Nighthawks, 2 games to the good.
Joe, I really do have a specialty of literally, you know, as the moment something gets said, the opposite happens this evening. But what is... I don't want to be cruel here, but it does not have the same va-va-voom style. To me here, the Nighthawks are playing a style that is very tempered, very disciplined, very relaxed. All the stuff I normally, you know, as you well know, shout for. You know, where is the we're going for it sort of type attitude? They're content to at least sit here and just play enough and bring out the mechanics every so often. It's I don't know to say it too soon here, but it's just already a developing squad here maturing.
It's a difficult one, because if you approach it with too much, you know, the psychology word goes, too much arousal, you risk going to a state of over arousal, and you risk overstretching and overplaying and over trying to do it and playing too fast, and cortisol levels rise and all sorts going on when you're in that kind of a mind frame. And as you quite rightly said, you know, I don't mind the calming presence comment on Subi. I think he is exactly that. I do believe it, and he's the experience in that team, and so far I think he's doing his job well. Not doing anything too flashy, playing simple Rocket League, and able, thankfully, to keep them grounded, I would say, is the words I would use, Danny.
Yeah, and that's how to put it. What you want to have that sort of shock absorber. That's what Subi is. You need to have that somewhat spring and sponge at the back line to keep things essentially calm and quiet for the likes of Reedy and Beatty to be essentially mad geniuses on the other side of the pitch here. And what has been a subtlety this evening here, the ability Reedy is able to produce mechanically. We saw in that last sort of 30 seconds defensively, pulling out saves when absolutely required to, and keeping his team in this. Now, the only issue that I have is here, and I may be wrong here, but I've seen everybody rejoin here, is that Trendy's back in the lobby here. So is this going to be the first change up in this 4-man roster for the Tempest now?
Need a map change, Dennis, if you could leave lobby as well, and Pluve will get that sorted for us. But yeah, it was an interesting game, that one. The comment about Action is quite an interesting one. He hasn't had much experience. I'm waiting for Samus to leave. There he is. Cool. There you go. Pluvo, you can now make the lobby again. I do want to touch on that real quick, because, as you know, Danny, you've been in this community for such a long time now. It's not an easy thing to come and play on stream, under the lights, under this kind of pressure, especially a token match for your first stream as well. Now, I actually have seen Action play under no pressure in a scrim against the RAF Storm Shadows, and he was genuinely really, really good. If he can repeat that kind of form, I think there is potential to see a reverse, not quite a reverse sweep, but a comeback here. And but as you know, Danny, the pressure can be ridiculous, and the spotlight sometimes doesn't agree with people. It can take a while to get used to. Do you think that is what he's currently going through right now in this particular series? I think I have also maybe just lost my co-caster. So I'll just carry on for now. Oh, he might be back. He is back. I think he is back.
Hello?
He's back. Danny, let's go. I was just saying, Danny, about Action in general and how his first evening under the spotlight might look. And your opinion on if you think the pressure that he's feeling right now is going to be a benefit to him or a drawback for him.
To me, it's a sort of a drawback in terms of the way it's set up this evening. I don't think it's the right conditions, but it's more the case of what can you do with those environments. And sort of that the old phrase back in the 60s, throw them in the deep end. That's all what you have to do here.
From that bombshell, we are underway. It is the RF Nighthawks 2 games to the good in this series now. They have the ball firmly in their court. Trinity subbing in for Samez, citing internet issues. And it's over to Trinity now to make a good impact for himself. The community will know Trin over a long period of time is capable of doing some really good things with the football at his feet. Or on his car in this particular case. As G-Wood looks to bring the Tempests out for their first attack of the game.
Well, maybe the first attack off it, but it's not necessarily coming to much use of it. A few fitties thrown here and there, and that's on target, but the awkward bounce the way it does here doesn't actually give anybody a real chance to play off it.
G-Wood loops it towards the Nighthawks net. It's dangerous, but Subi gets there. Bell with a flick on as well. Leaves it for Trin. Trin shoots towards the far post, but not quite enough accuracy on the shot, but it does make them awkward. Trin going for a bump. Up he goes for the read as well. It's really good play. Is there a 10% to finish it off? G-Wood into the near post. Will it find its way in? It somehow stayed out, and eventually G-Wood takes it over the line. Is this the start of a Tempest comeback? A long way to go, but that is certainly the right way to start things off here.
Oh, that's exactly what you wanted, and with the change up of the personnel at the Tempest, you have two-edged sword here. The Nighthawks can't be on cruise control, but they still have to play the standard game. And with Trinity, to some extent, he's got a sort of a point to prove with his own team here. And to the element of it, I wasn't good enough to the start, G-Wood. Well, Joe, well, here, I've got a point now to sit here and say, Action should be on the bench or somebody else, but not me. And now suddenly they've got a goal within 20 seconds within them for the opening minute. And you go, Joe, what? Why wasn't he starting?
He will certainly feel that way, but it's not an easy thing to manage as Trin goes up, and I thought he would have got a touch there. But no, you can see in the top right, Action's touch was the only one that counted. As he goes up for another shooting opportunity. I've got to say, he started off things pretty sharp here as Trinity, which you'll be delighted with, I'm sure, as G-Wood goes for the bump. And Subi alive to it, knows his former teammate, his former captain very, very well. And everything he intended to do in that play was read, foreseen, and swatted away as Subi beats G-Wood again. Action towards his captain, Bale with a nice interception. Action will try and drop it down. Trinity beaten, open net for Reedy. If he can get a touch on it, he can. And a calm, collected Reedy brings the Nighthawks back onto level terms.
Exactly what you wanted in those scenarios. And Bale's one of those players here that you're hoping for something a little bit more from him, always pushing that mechanical side of it, but the patience, the control, the delivery of it, that's just one I'm somewhat worrying about if you're playing against the Nighthawks, is if they get that discipline, if they get that maturity, the Storm Shadows current lineup might get a bit worried in the future here.
G-Wood loops it high, Trinity meets it. Lovely pass by Trin. Back into G-Wood, who centers nicely. Subi with no boost has to leave it and trust his teammate, which really has a rare whiff there. Trinity will just watch it and get the clearance. But Reedy waiting on the halfway line. Smart positioning by him. G-Wood drops it down again. Reedy re-enters the play, looking for Subi. Subi with a shot. Trinity with a save. Smartly placed and beats Bale. Trouble for him. He goes for the psycho opportunity. It was there. And it's audacious. And it almost works. But Reedy, thankfully for Bale, completed the clearance.
Bale, Reedy, up it goes here, and Subi's awkward enough, but somewhat, and resulting into a fake out there. G-Wood, he's hovering in between it, trying to work out where Reedy's placing it. Was a shot, either skim read options there, but it was the corner that he elected to. Second bounce, and Trinity should be smiling. Demo it goes, and Action should be actually bailing himself back as quickly as he can there, but delays the rotation enough, and the Tempest under pressure somewhat.
Trin with another fine save. It's been a bit of a defensive wall right now for the Tempest, and another good challenge as well from Trin. A good impact made from him. Subi on the left-hand side wall. Series of touches, so lightning quick, and Trin has to get there, and he does again. Releases action down the right-hand side. Danger here for the Nighthawks. Can he find a pass? He can, but it was just too short at the near post. And now Reedy one-on-one with Trin, chooses to leave it, and that might be a sign of either a smart player there just to get back on rotation, or someone that's choosing to play to not to lose rather than to win. I felt he could have challenged there, but Reedy chose the smart and safe option. G-Wood loops it high. Reedy no boost. Up goes G-Wood. Action. And there's no shot on target. They're all low boost. The opportunities are there for the Tempests, but at the moment, they're just not clinical and composed enough to take them.
Certainly so. And G-Wood, one shot necessary, not being on target here. Really low boost here, so it should be a Tempest goal eventually here, and that's nearly a decent save, but it's Action who finally gets on the scorecard.
And Reedy loops it out to his left-hand side, and Action met it so sweetly and just asked the question of Subi on the goal line. And for once, Subi didn't have the answer. And it's 2-1 to the RF Tempest at a vital time. Can they see this game through now and get themselves back on the scoreboard here in the series? It would be the game to do it, as you feel if Nighthawks take this. It's an uphill battle to reverse sweep, but they're going for it. In goes the ball. Action clears. G-Wood limited people will just watch the ball go down. Into the box it goes. Bale clears in towards Reedy, and Trin drops it down. And the RF Tempests are back on the scoreboard here. 2-1 in the series.
Joe, there was a bit of me somewhat presuming that it was going to be a Tempest or worrying that the Nighthawks was going to do what they done in game 1, and and that's essentially, you know, a response, OT, grab the goal and take the lead here. But anyways, that's what didn't happen. That's the sort of the psychological side that don't have to give much thought here. But the main story is Trinity and Samis is out. So, do you know what? It's the question of what... I'll throw the question to you because I don't know where to go with this. What do you do if you're in G-Wood's position here? Because the lineups kept changing, and suddenly this is the first time it's worked.
It's a tough one, right? I mean, you have to look at the reason why Sammers came off the pitch, and he did say in the Twitch chat that he was having internet issues. Obviously, we can't verify that, but there's a reason why he would lie about such a thing. And internet issues in such a series is a vital thing to have to contend with, right? I know Reedy was feeling the same way as well, but he seems to have had seemed to be able to persist with this so far. Do you put Sammers back on in this environment? My honest answer would be no. You know, you can't change it that after they just won a game, right?
You'd be surprised. I've seen some odd decisions over the years, but the fact is that, you know, if it works, you get it and then move it across here. But I'll throw the other question off with: if Sammers internet wasn't playing up, would they have got a game off them sooner?
And these are the right questions to ask, Danny. You know, only God will know that answer, and you have to go back and look. I mean, they did take the lead in that first game, and they were looking promising and they're looking sharp. But the Nighthawks, to their credit, were able to come back and deny them momentum, which is key for Tempest. If you can stop Tempest from getting momentum, you stop a big part of their game. Like, we know G-Wood is a big confidence player. If he's feeling good, if he's feeling sharp, they will feel unstoppable as a unit. And if you can break that, which is what they did, you can see why they've gone two goal games in a series for the good. It looks like they have stuck with their current lineup of G-Wood, Trin, and Action. They're not fixing what they deem to be nothing that's broken so far, as Action looks to start things off fast as Reedy intercepts.
There's going to be certainly an evening where you just be wondering the ifs, buts, and maybes. That was the story the last time these two met, and that's what was always going to be referred to, because, you know, if, you know, Action was around there, would they have been the top two? Would they have, you know, thrown the token, you know, challenging, you know, etc., heading into it? Now we're seeing the change of the reverberations, essentially, and it is going to be that nice to actually somewhat sit there and say, well, with their own eyes, yeah, we sat there, we saw it, and you know what, here, you know, if the Nighthawks do go on to win it, deservedly so, and defends it, hard to do it when G-Wood's in this kind of mood.
And my mind suddenly shifts to the prediction that Cedric made at the very start of this evening, was that Tempest would take this series 4-0. And when the Nighthawks went 2 games to 0 up in the series, interestingly, there wasn't a a hesitation from Cedric. He then said confidently, "This will be 4-2 to the RF Tempests," and you know you can at the moment see why he's thinking that and he's putting his faith into them. But the RF Tempests themselves cannot afford to think that way. They can't be complacent here, going 1 goal up. They need a second because, as we've seen on numerous occasions in this series, Nighthawks are very much capable of coming back here if they're not very careful. And Subi plays out to his left, looking for his teammate Bale, and the loop drop from Trinity met by Reedy.
It's been decently dealt out there by Nighthawks in terms of getting that ball up and around, and more importantly, into space where not necessarily a Tempest response could hit them so quickly on the counter as Bale taps it, moves it forward, and it should be a follow through here. And no demo either here, so it allows Action to still have a chance of recovery. Does get it, delays enough for Trinity, and do you know what? It might just be me still, but the tempo of the game, the speed off has dropped by about 10 to 15% here.
Yeah, I agree. Subi glances that one past his own far post there, and Bale doing well to 50 that one out. Action will come steaming in there, looking for a cross. Oh, the touch from Reedy was only as far as G-Wood. Trim with a shot, and it was a really good effort as well. Had to be saved by Subi. Action's follow-up attempt going wide of the mark, and it is constant Tempest pressure, but they get the bang. Subi will lead the charge out alongside Bale, going for the boost off, and the bump is Bale. Subi pops it high. Reedy goes up, beaten by Action, and Trinity launches a counter. Can G-Wood get there? Not that time. Bale with a psycho attempted clearance doesn't come off, and Subi has time on his own backboard here.
Well, Subi, there's a touch middle, and Action pops and delays there. Good demo, but G-Wood removes the straight threat opportunity, and once again here, the midfield and the park itself will be simply moving across here, and Bale continues G-Wood, another 50 in Subi. He's trying to chase that one down here, and as much as this game has been built up to, it became very much a battle of 50s. It's a war of nutrition more than skill.
Every minute, every meter, of the pitch counts, and they're battling for it, as you quite rightly pointed out, Danny Boy. Trinity, oh, it's beautiful, oh, it's wonderful, and Trinity, starting the evening on the bench, comes on and impacts the team positively. Beautiful first touch by Trin, deadly second, and Action can just watch it sail home for 2-0. And the Tempest, looking calm, looking composed, and looking like they're about to level with the series.
Do you call a timeout here, your Nighthawks, if you lose this?
I think so.
Oh, don't forget, well, it was the Tempest that called it in, game 4, if memory serves me correctly, or if not game 5. It's sort of delayed it near the last possible moment as well, and it worked out for them. But really, one touch, should be getting the pop right up and around here. Continues, it goes here in G-Woot. There's no options in the box outright here. A few demos attempt here. That's awkward enough here. That arguably should have been 3 here.
We love you, Tempest chants in the chat from Cedric. Very much the old guard of the RAF Rocket League community. Some of these players, like Trin, G-Win and Sam, is all heavily experienced, and Action, of course, is a new boy, the new kid on the block, but he's making a good impact as well. But this is one for the oldies, as they might say. There'll be a G-Wood, there'll be a Logan, there'll be a Steve and a Kurt who might be watching this series thinking, yeah, do it for the oldies. And on the other side of the pitch, it's a rather nervous-looking Nighthawks now, more so than we've seen them normally. The bright spark, the confidence, the flair, temporarily muted here by the RF Tempests. They've got them where they need them. Can they keep them there? That is the question.
It certainly is. Should be a play here. Coming from the Nighthawks, that would just maybe cast a few doubts here. Just not necessarily win the game here, but silence that thought here of the old ones have warmed up. The shall we say, the Railjack spray has been truly put onto the bones here, and it won't be clicking its way down the street. But 2-2 should be the series scoreline, and it will be Bale to tap in the last action of game 4. But do you know what? Still, I'll put it this way. Tonight feels underwhelming a wee bit.
Still plenty of time in this series, of course, left for that to change, especially if we go into a game 7, which this is headed for at the moment. It's 2-2, so it's literally a best of 3 now, I believe it is, as we were at the start of the evening. And you begin to wonder whose night it might be. It's been backwards and forwards so far. The Nighthawks, of course, starting the series off the much brighter team, the much more flairful team and free playing. And just like that, it's turned on a knife's edge, and the Tempest level on terms. Trin looking dangerous, Action looking bright, and G-Wood looking very, very consistent. A bit more like himself, which I think is a fair comment to make for him. He'll be delighted with how he's played so far. Popped up with a couple of vital demos and vital shots. And we go to Parc de Paris for game number 5. And hopefully anybody French out there like my accent, you can tell me how wrong I got that. Danny, over to you for this one. This is an incredibly poised series.
Certainly is, and it's, to me, there's a night here where we'll look at it, and I thought there was going to be brutality, a wee bit of intensity, needle, and so what? That's somewhat. We're playing our game here. We're not getting too brought up into the occasion or the emotions. And it's just waiting for that moment just to really unravel off it. But G-Wood tops it on home here, and perhaps maybe old but steady is the story of this night's evening.
And G-Wood again, the man of the moment for the Raf Tempest. A solid finish. Once again, though, crafted by Action, forcing the error. I think it was Bell on the backboard who didn't quite have the read on it. And a good start once more for the Raf Tempest. Last time that they went 1-0 up in the series, other than last game, of course, they did end up succumbing to it. If they don't concede the next goal and they go 2-0 up, I think we're on here for a Tempest potential, almost not reverse sweep, but 4 wins in a row, which will be incredible, given the momentum and the form of both of these two sides going in, looking so different. At times, the Tempest were looking dejected, especially in that WrestleMania reshuffle tournament. But what a difference, Danny, a week can make in this community.
You know what, would not surprise me here within a week or two here. The winner or the loser this year throws the token match for the trilogy of this potential best of 7 sets of series.
Wouldn't surprise me, and it would though require the Nighthawks to lose this series, as of course the Tempest would keep their token if they win this, and of course if they lose though, the Nighthawks the Nighthawks are safe for another month, right? Because that means the Tempest's token is gone, and so for that to happen, it needs the Tempest win for pretty much what I am sure, by the way, will be. Oh, it's a big mistake from G-Wood. I think he was expecting the fake, and that might be costly. You just want to be putting that on target there. The play, the idea was right, but you've got to be aware. You've got to be aware of your surroundings there. G-Wood was unlucky. Very unlucky indeed.
Sometimes you have to make your own luck, and so far this evening, he has got the goals. He's got that old status around the pitch, or as the youngsters and the likes of Pluvo would probably refer to as aura. You know, he's just got that sort of position on today here where it was missing. But the question here is now, where's the likes of really, where's the 700 points or MVP quality to challenge somebody who is, you know, essentially a rock, that giant boulder that you just can't shift?
Yeah, I mean, it is a different Nighthawks we're seeing tonight. And Nighthawks are having to play with grit, and that's a beautiful read by Action. They're playing with grit and a bit more risk averse, rather than, you know, full steam ahead, full send, as they were doing in the WrestleMania reshuffle. And the difference is, Danny, there was no real pressure on them in that tournament, even against the Storm Shadows in the final. There was no real pressure. Now there's stakes, there's real stakes, there's a rivalry brewing, and it makes a difference on your psychology as a player, as a team in this kind of environment. And the Tempest, well, they have the more experience in these exact kind of scenarios, and I think realistically that is coming to their rescue right now. They're making full use of it. They seem a little bit calmer. They don't seem as rash on the ball, as rushed, as harried. They just seem a bit more calm, as you can see there demonstrated by G-Wood. It's a good centre, it's a double commit, and surely Trim will put it home for a second, and it is. And the Tempest looking very good here.
Well, G-Wood and the Samas of old here would be looking at Trinity here, topping that one home quite nicely. But, you know, I'll throw this at you here. Tonight feels like sort of like a Shadow versus Tempest. Going for the AFEI and those type of sort of matchups in the past that we've had before. where, you know, the Tempests, you know, were the favourites. Now for the first time, they don't have that as a tag here. And they have the freedom to play essentially like the Shadows were to them.
It is a freeing mentality, not having an expectation. Realistically, it is a free mentality. There is a mistake there though from the Tempests, and they will look to make the most of it, but they survive again, and this 2-goal lead remains. But Danny, going back to your point, as Bale steams in looking for a goal on the board, I don't see how. I would have thought the pressure would have taken at least a couple of months to get to the Nighthawks, whereas it just seems that it's got a bit into them, in my opinion. Of course, I can't verify it for sure. Of course, I'm not in their comms, and they all may be very, very confident and feeling very loose, but they just look a little bit slow, which is a interesting thing for me to say, you know, as somebody who can barely hit the ball. As Bale does give them a lifeline here inside the final minute, and that is sharper play, and that is kind of the direct play that they kind of need, Danny. They need that direct play at times, showing off their flair that we know they have. And if they can string a couple more passes together in this last minute, we could see overtime. But these next few seconds, Danny, are of vital importance to the series.
Well, it's that old phrase back in 2015, 2016, as that runs in for 3-1, and likely game number 5 going into Tempest's column. You know, it's an OG Affinity player, used to be top-end professional, used to sit here and say, why are you not playing with intensity at the 5-minute mark? You're only doing it for the last 30. And it feels like that's the type of series we've got this evening here, where the first few games, it's relaxing, it's easy going. Yes, there's a few punches thrown at the bag here, for the boxing analogy that you used last time with these two. It's, you know, we're saving it maybe for the last or best of 3, best of 1 maybe.
Could be, that is indeed the case. Maybe the Tempests were never worried about how they started. Maybe they were worried about how they finished, and that could be their plan tonight. And maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll ask them if they kind of need to secure us over the line in an interview. Is that one dangerously flies across the face of goal? G-Wood there again, can't quite make it, and it's a beautiful effort by action, saved on the line by Subi. And the RAF Tempests on a double token match point here. Can they secure second place back from the Nighthawks, who took it from them in the Rostomania reshuffle? Well, they're within one more game, ladies and gents, of doing it.
Oh, timeout's been called.
Timeout indeed, so the time now is 49 minutes past the hour. They have until 51 minutes. 2 minutes starts now, and over to them to see what. I mean, I would love to be a fly on the wall of that VC right now, and see what they're saying.
Yeah, you know what? So would I here, and you know what? And plays a wee bit of doubles advocate. You know, Tempest could have won this series by now if the game 1 was different.
True. I mean, you raised a quite interesting point. I mean, about their mentality. Like I said, maybe they didn't really care how they started the series. Like maybe they just wanted to use whatever happened in the first 2 games as a nerve settler, if there were any, or just as a fishing rod to see what the Nighthawks would throw at them. And maybe they've understood and they've digested, and it looks like that their plan is working, and they just have to now see it through. But Danny, as you've seen in your experienced career in Rocket League, the game to win a series is always the hardest one to push over the line.
It certainly is. It's that factor of it is you know, we talk about stakes, we talk about moments here. It's that two-sided of the coin of it. Do you want to be the one that, you know, thumps the goal and gets the win and have that, you know, euphoria feeling, or do you want to just be the one always on the edge of your seat here with sweat dripping, you sort of going, please don't let me be the one that makes the mistake? And that's always with the sort of the factor going into game 7 that you are worried about, is please don't let me be the one that makes that mistake or to win the series here.
I must admit, as a player, I am like that. In this kind of scenario, I am terrible. Yes, I'm a sports psychologist and a mental coach, but people seem to confuse that with being able to implement professional training and professional psychology advice, like the likes of Pluvo, Mike Boy, and especially who are my current roster. They're very good at implementing it. I am not. And in this exact scenario, Danny, I am the player that is playing not to lose rather than to win. And just not to make any mistakes. I don't want to be the guy responsible for losing the game for my team. However, in thinking that way, you most of the time end up being the reason for losing the game for your team. And it's an oxymoron in many ways. And none of these players here tonight can afford to have that kind of mentality. They've all got to be playing to win and be open to some level of risk. You have to be open to some level of risk. You cannot afford to play fully safe, in my opinion.
No, and this is where the older head somewhat of myself here comes into it. I don't play to win or to lose. I play to be annoying. And I think that's an element that probably the likes of a G-Wood and the Samas that we talked about, especially in the opening first 2 games here, what they've done very well is essentially, you know, we're going to demo you. We're going to have our 1-2 combination. We're going to have that pass and play, and hence we are going to essentially open this pitch up, not because we've outplayed you mechanically. We're just going to make your life difficult. And if you're playing game 6 and 7 in that fashion, you will cause your opposition to make mistakes more than the unforced error.
Couldn't agree more, Danny. Couldn't agree more. We do have a couple of questions from the chat, which come from Cedric and Pluvo. Cedric says, with the Tempest on a roll, do we see the world where Nighthawks come back?
No.
Oh, straight in there with the no. It's possible, but I have to say, I have to agree with you. Tempest look dominant here tonight. And the second question, Danny, is from Pluvo. The player of the series so far for you?
G-Wood.
I don't disagree with you. That is somebody I had in my mind to say. It was actually for me G-Wood, and second of all Trin, third of all Action. That was my top 3 for the whole series, not just for Tempest. I actually feel that Trin's made a really positive impact since he's come on, but I can't disagree with you on G-Wood.
I disagree with your order then.
Let me hear you.
I would have probably went with G-Wood, Samas' game 1 performance. Trendy moves on to it, but the key bit of it is what you may have to consider here is, as much as really quality of performance not hitting the ceiling, it's not the same. He hasn't let the team down here. He's actually got 1 or 2 games here, spicy, where the game has been saved by him. So I probably would go G-Wood. Probably, you know, Samus Ice Train because it's a sub player at that point here, and then probably Reedy as third in that order. I don't think Action's top 3 on the pitch this evening.
Interesting, and interesting. There is also still time for that to change potentially. The players are rejoining, so we are pretty much all set to go. Both teams ready, so we're going to give them the signal to go, and it is the penultimate game, regardless of the result here. It is either the penultimate game of the series or the last, depending on what happens here between the RF Tempests and the RF Nighthawks as they go in for game number 6, Neo Tokyo. As up goes Trin, looking to add a first in the first few seconds, but they survive the threat that time, the Nighthawks.
Subi in action, at least onto the side wall here. We've talked about his goal scoring ability, but the agreed somewhat temporary MVP will be G-Wood's opening goal here, and potentially the winner too.
It's that man again, the man who you cited as the top player in this series, the MVP of this token match right now. The captain, of course, a long-time captain of this RF Tempest side, giving them the lead. And yes, it's an important goal, but what's even more important right now is that they stay ruthless and stay composed and don't overplay now that you've got the goal in front, but also don't give the Nighthawks any respite and keep causing moments just like that. Moments of panic, moments of anxiety, moments of double commits to slowly wear them down and deplete their boost just to give himself an easy shot at goal, but Reedy would try and beat Trin. He does. It's good play by the roster main and reshuffle MVP, but the Tempest just swatting away that attack attempt, and Reedy finds bail.
Action, soft touch. Should be at least an idea here to come through it. Bale's awkward enough, and that's the moment here where I'll tell you this here, that's when the series has been lost here.
Oh, and it was an awful 50 for Bale to take. He was left a little bit awkward, couldn't quite recover his car. I feel for the young man because it's not a nice position to be in when you know you're awkward and you know if you don't get a good enough touch here, the ball's going to find the back of your own net. And once again, the Tempest capitalise on pressure. Can they find the third to put it beyond all reasonable doubt? Danny seems to believe that it is all over. That question yet to be answered from, in my mind. You know, it can turn in the blink of an eye here, as we know, and I've come to love on this channel over years of play between many different teams, but I'm not going to lie, Danny, as much as I don't think it's over just yet, it is heavily in the favour of the RAF Tempests.
I love how the man himself here, the top 8 coach in the RLCS in the European region, is sitting there battling between his brain and his heart right now. And it's hard to do sometimes to have that scrutiny of the eye to sit there and say, do you know what, I just don't see it, and still fighting and believing, and that's what the Nighthawks have to do here. And do you know what? I think you might be right, believing in your heart this time.
And it was Reedy putting everything he had into that aerial play with no boost. He just watched it sail below his car and hoped for the best with all his heart. And there is life left in the RAF Nighthawks, still alive here. Don't forget, they went 2 games up in the series. They had it in their hands, but they couldn't convert the all-important third to go for a quadruple token match point. And now find themselves staring down the barrel of defeat. Reedy's there. What a save by Action! A vital touch. That was goal-bound indeed for the equaliser. But Action was there, and it's still 2-1.
Well, just like that there, Bale. Up it goes, straight to should be an awkward play here by the Tempest, and Trinity just parked himself into the net here. No demo by the Nighthawks on the man, so an easy 1-2 clear. Should be a goal if it was on target, just slightly to the right of here from the Nighthawks perspective. And it's just those difference here that, well, we either see the end of the game, the chances rolling forward, but the Nighthawks with, what, about 2 minutes left, I'd say they got 3 decent more chances if they want to tie this game up here.
Reedy, dangerous touch on the backboard. Is there a Nighthawks player? It was begging to be hit, begging to be finished. Instead, it's Trin able to clear. Bale with a soft touch. Reedy takes it to place. Subi, limited boost, can't get there. The clearance from Action is a good one. Reedy will flick away to his left-hand side towards his teammate Bale. Reedy gets there again. Good play by the Nighthawks captain. Up goes Bale. Danger here, he's so mechanical. This is where he's dangerous. Can't get the shot on target. Reedy at the near post and saved by the Tempest as they look to launch a counter-attack.
Action, soft touch, Subi. Reedy's dropped all the way back. Beale's now covering the rotation. Second good demo, but it is the Tempest who will have the upwards tempo, the momentum here, and that will be G-Wood for 3-1.
That, Danny boy, for me, is game, set and match. I think that is one step too far for the Nighthawks now. The Tempest need to just run down the clock, play low 50s, play a very neutral, conservative game, and this is game, set and match as far as I'm concerned. And if I'm wrong now, I don't know what to say.
Ouch, usually. Oh, I don't think the Nighthawks will be watching this back in any time soon, especially for the listening to the laureates at their name being sung and praised. This has been not a monumental drop-off in terms of the performance, the level they were at, but it is a humbling experience that a young team needs, especially if they're hungry, especially if they want to grow here, because that was the Tempest 3-4 years ago. And they're still here battling here for second in terms of the overall standings.
It is a harsh lesson to learn on a night like tonight, coming off a result like Rostamania reshuffle. And just what do they have left now in the tank in these final 30 seconds? Can they still go on the front foot and search for something of a lifeline? Here comes Bale. Bale pre-jumped by Trin, and it was so nicely done by Trin. Brave, but he knew he could take that risk while being 2 goals in front, knowing that the ball has to go forward. It will be the RAF Tempest day. They will reclaim back second. And after what was a real disappointing performance for them, losing out to that BFBS auto-qualifying spot into main event for Pro League Season 2, they do bounce back. They are looking like themselves again. And they have proven, of course, as well, with Trin stepping up for Samez and Action coming in on his first day, that there is, importantly, depth in this Tempest squad as they claim back second place.
There's already needle between the two as they just left the lobby. Still, I check your DMs right now because I think a token match has just been sent to you here for a secondary. Well, the trilogy essentially was what mentioned.
No way. Has it actually happened?
Oh, I checked your DMs here. I would not be surprised here. Somebody sent you. Whoa, we're challenging.
Let's see. I'm going into the challenge token area, and there is activity. And the RAF Storm Shadows have been challenged by the RAF Tempests. That is an incredible, brave move. I'm not joking you. At 2100 hours, which is literally a minute ago, the RAF Storm Shadows have been challenged by the RAF Tempests, and that is courtesy of Sames putting in the token. And just when we thought things couldn't get any more dramatic, they just have. I mean, Danny, what do you make of that?
I'm going to say it's foolish challenging the Storm Shadows lineup outright, but you know what? Here, what a point to make a statement here. You know, Nighthawks were nothing; they were brushed aside for a 4-2 series here, and you know what's here? If they're feeling the way that they did have here, they might have a chance here, but I wouldn't be as confident as they are instantly challenging after a series like that, though.
It's going to be an almightily interesting affair. And joining me in the commentary box right now alongside you, Danny, is the RAF Tempest captain, G-Wood. G-Wood, welcome to the stream. Of course, you're live on the RAF Storm Shadows channel. Just fresh off of a convincing display against the RAF Nighthawks. What was the difference for you tonight in this series? Of course, noting that Action had returned and was available for selection. And, of course, Samus had to dip because of internet issues and Trin stepping up. So it must have been an interesting night for you as captain.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of spanned the. I said to Action, you know, first game with the team, I was like, "You're playing." Yeah, he's playing the whole series, and then I kind of spanned the wheel for who's going to start the game because it was tough to choose. And then unfortunately for Sam, we got those issues. I think Jenny decided that she wanted to play Sims or something, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, no, overall, you know, Action, we knew how good he was. You know, how solid of a player he is. So him being in the team, you know, elevates us a lot. You know, we just need to continue on the form that we're on at the moment, playing, screaming, and we're only going to get better.
It was a week where I didn't see much fuss made by the RAF Tempests in the private. Obviously, as happens, we can see a lot of the server and private channels. It looked like, at least to me, that you guys were grinding and preparing in quiet and not really bothering about people seeing you guys prepare. It was almost a secret this week for the RAF Tempests. I mean, walk me through the game plan, walk me through the prep without obviously giving away too many secrets. What was your mindset going into tonight against the RAF Nighthawks?
Well, we know obviously in the tournament we didn't play well. You know, hats off to them, they played well, and we didn't. You know, we were so far off the game, and we knew that when we get Action back, it's going to be a different story kind of thing. We've all kind of picked ourselves back up after that. You know, some of us were down and in the dumps, but it's kind of picked ourselves back up. We've had a couple of scrims the last couple of nights. You know, we haven't had that much training with Action being away. I was away on a course, so you know, it's only really been the last couple of nights that we've actually been able to start properly grinding. But you know, it shows that even with 2 nights of training, this is where we're at, and we're only going to get better. Yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, it was an impressive day overall for you guys. Me and Danny Boy, I think, agreed on you being the MVP for tonight's token match, so really well done to you, G-Wood. A quick comment on Trinity. I think I felt when he came on for Sames, it wasn't an easy situation at 2-0 down to be thrusted into for Trin. I thought he did very well. I mean, walk me through his impact on the team when he did come on, and what it's going to be like for you as captain, juggling a squad like that with depth and with every player knowing that they can be a starter for that team. It can't be easy.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I kind of spun the wheel because I did between me, Sam, and Trin. It was like I don't really know who to start. Spun the wheel, so it had to be me and Sam. Sam got in issues, and then Trin. Trin's still getting back to that level that he was. We all know. Well, the oldies in the server know what Trin was, where he was at, the level he was at, and he's on that path to get back there. And and we're starting to see the consistency coming through. In the tournament, he'll say himself he was whiffing left, right, and centre, but in those games, I don't know if I saw him whiff once. So that consistency started to come through. His ball touches are starting to come through. It's going where he wants them to go. His shooting's there. His rotations are starting to come in as well. So the more that we practice, the more that we look at replays, get them reviewed by certain people, then we're only going to get better.
One more from me, and I'll hand over to Danny Boy if he's got any questions as well. But my last question is, walk me through this dramatic challenge on the RAF Storm Shadows. I mean, I rate it first and foremost getting in, of course, before the Nighthawks can even get their rematch clause almost booked back in. But what's the mindset behind taking on the Storm Shadows?
But mainly to do with we didn't want to have the challenge back from the Nighthawks. You know, we want to be in second, and now, you know, give us some time to kind of grind away as a team, so that when they do come back, we're even better than we were tonight. And, you know, it kind of puts them in a position where they're going to have to really, really go. I know they already have been, but they're going to have to push it even more to kind of get to our level. And also, we played against the Storm Shadows in a scrim not too long ago, with Action, me, Sam and Trin, and it went quite well. We thought we did quite well. So we're fairly confident that the more that we play, the more that we grind, we can definitely challenge them.
Cedric says it's going to be a 4-0 to the Ariel Storm Shadows. I'm going to give you a chance to respond. And
Well, that's just Ed. Yeah, I don't listen to that. He can say what he wants.
He actually backed you tonight, by the way. He backed you even at 2.
I know he did.
Prediction was 4-0, and even at 2-0 down, he still said Tempest take this 4-2. But that's it from me. I'll hand over to Danny Boy for any questions that he might have for you.
I'm just going to follow off on the last point there, the Storm Shadows token match, and this is going to be my only question then. So, Jaywood, what would be harder then, the Storm Shadows, or would it be Vatira, Zen, and Monkey Moon? Who would be the harder opposition, and why?
Well, if Vatira, Zen, and Monkey Moon, aka Musty, one was actually ultra hard, and definitely be those. You know, but that was a once in a lifetime kind of, you know, I'm never going to play against Zen again, so I'll take my hat trick against Zen beating him. Hopefully I can do that against the Storm Shadows, because theoretically they're not as good as us, so, you know, who knows.
Indeed, and I think that's a great place to leave it. Jeanette, Cash's mum, for those who don't know, did indeed also pick the right team to win tonight, and that was the Raf Tempests. Thank you everybody for watching. It's been an incredible stream tonight. The last one, of course, the pre with our overlays, because of the new backers mod ban coming in, obviously with the new EAC coming out on 28th. So next time you see our streams, we will have this lovely overlay here for you, but the in-game overlay, at least for now, won't be working. But we are working on a fix, and actually a massive upgrade. If you are wanna stay tuned for that over the next couple of weeks, maybe / month away. It's going to be really, really nice, so I recommend you keep an eye out for it. But from myself and Danny Boy tonight, we thank you all for watching what was an incredible series. Jaywood, congratulations to you and the Raf Tempests. And for the Nighthawks, it's back to the drawing board. Take care and good night.